Hello everyone. I'm in the gallery, the Brick Bottom Artist Building in Somerville, and a couple of people have asked me to do a little broadcast of the show that I just hanged. And it was a show that we referred to as the Clusterfuck Show because it was going to be kind of difficult to make it work. I had asked each artist to bring 2 pieces of work that they're presently doing, creating, and that they should choose 2 pieces that showed as much diversity as they felt they could. Now, sometimes the diversity was not as broad as others. Some people are, for example, realist painters, yet they paint landscapes on some things and still lives on other paintings. So the difference that they have is in subject matter. Other people do different kinds of work entirely, abstract ceramic sculpture and realistic needlepoint would be an example that we do not have in this show, but that would be an example of the difference. So what was interesting, normally when I have a show, when I help hang a show or I hang a show that has 1 piece per person, I usually try to arrange the artwork so that the piece is flanked by 2 pieces that look good with it. But in this case, because the show had 2 pieces that had to be hung next to each other because they were done by the same artist, that clearly some of them would sort of clash. So that's where the clusterfuck part of the show came in. So I thought, well, how am I going to organize this show? How is it going to work? And I thought maybe the first idea was to have all of the work on one wall that is done by artists who work in the same medium but change the subject matter. That would be one wall. And another wall would be people that change medium. But that was difficult because I'd have to choose. If they changed both subject matter and medium, I'd have to make a choice of where I would put them. And I didn't really want to do that, not because I couldn't make a choice, but I didn't want to typecast their diversity in a particular way. So what I did was, I remembered a drawing that Saul Steinberg had done of a cocktail party. And each of the people that he drew was drawn in a completely different way. And some were in color, some were black and white, some were angular, some were very rounded. And it sort of looked like a cocktail party looks. You go to a cocktail party and you see all sorts of different kinds of people there, and there's different kinds of conversations. So that's how I decided to approach hanging this show. I thought, what pairs of pictures would sort of flock together if these pictures, these artworks were suddenly turned into humans, who would congregate together and who would congregate with a different group, or who might stand all by themselves in a corner and hope that no one talks to them. There are those kind of people too at cocktail parties. So what I did was, let's see if I can turn this around. Front camera. what I did was I hung the show in areas of similar sorts of aesthetics, maybe that's the word. These were sort of bright red, and I thought, well, those sorts of people, if those were people, they would be the ones telling talking maybe a little loud, maybe laughing a little too much, but having a good time. That seemed to be what these pictures were about. These people showed work that they do as fine artists, also work that they do for clients, whether they're an architect or a graphic designer or working for MIT or for a client who's ceiling they're designing the decoration for. Sometimes I hung things vertically in a pair, sometimes horizontally. And I did that to just keep having you as a viewer to recalibrate your eyeballs. Because if they all were double hung vertically, there would become sort of I don't want to say a monotony to it, but a rhythm that you might get put into and not really look as much as you might. So I kept on trying to switch things around. So these two, abstract and figurative, had these purple colors in it and pinks, which also were here. And this is a pair of art pieces that were done by one artist, sculpture and painting. And this sort of non-representational abstraction sort of moved over to this pair, which is entirely non-representational, it appears, which led to the geometry here, which led to the geometry of this picture, and then led over to here. Sometimes pictures that are by themselves sorted on a wall, they were ones that sometimes they didn't quite play well with each other, with other people. That's not exactly the right way, but this blue was so beautiful and so intense that it sort of didn't work well when I was hanging with other pictures. Where this one went really, really well with this one, the colors here. But I just felt that blue was so intense that I didn't think it was going to look as good over here with these pieces. These are pieces that all have sort of a figurative element in it. Russell Facemeier's portrait he did of me with a bunny, and his drawing, a collage with a figure painting here, painting, and then this very stark sort of black and white face. That eye made me think of this eye on this creature and that avocado. So these became neighbors. So in looking at these things, I like thinking of the conversation that one picture, one thing that's here would have with that one over there. And some relationship is being described and discussed and pointed out. And this piece, if this was hanging next to that piece, you'd see them both differently. And that's sort of the fun of hanging a group show like this because you have some control over how people might see them. And it's a really fun challenge. I really enjoy hanging shows. So that's how this one worked. Bye.